Good morning. Good morning. My name is Todd Perkins, and I am the only lawyer who's in this race. And as you can see, you're going to need a lawyer who's going to be able to fight on your behalf for things that you have that are going to be faced. More so, the working class people. This is a working class town. That's what you're going to need, is a lawyer in that seat. Unfortunately, the lawyer that you had in that seat is not necessarily as concerned about the issues that affect working class people. I am born and raised on the north end of Detroit. I call the north end of Detroit my home today. And I'm an individual who has not sought and been very transparent in who I've sought and entertained as people who would support our campaign to date. And that is people like you, people like my colleagues in the law, because they want to see fair and equal justice for everyone. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm fighting each and every day. And if you read the media, and if you read the news clippings, I'm the one that's not invited to things, even though I poll higher, because I'm not the flavor that they savor. Because I am here for you, and that doesn't necessarily draw the interest of everyone else. But the thing is, recognize your power. You know, I can take a litmus test, and I'm sure everyone in this room votes. But we need to tell our neighbors to vote. We need to tell our young people to vote, because that is the power that we hold. If we give that up, we are powerless. And again, we need to get out here and vote. And I'm sure if you vote, if you look at your vote, go to PerkinsForThePeople.com before you vote, and you hear my story, you understand what I've done as city attorney in Highland Park, former city attorney in Highland Park, current city attorney in Inkster, and I actually represent the Detroit City Council today. So I've been a fighter for justice. I've been a fighter for people in the courtrooms, just everyday regular people like myself and like you. I fight every day, and that's what this is going to be about, because we're going to have to do more with less. I understand that, and I, again, as the only self-made CEO in this race, building something from nothing, I know what it takes to continue the fight that you've already been on and help you along the way. So thank you very much. I'm asking for your vote August 5th, and you can vote as early as July 26th, early, but you can also go down to the Election Commission.
We got a lot of questions.
Gotcha.
A lot of questions.
Yep, there it is. I'm done. Back to you. Thank you. And, first and foremost, we're going to stop. But that's just too simple to say. So what we're going to do is we need to dashboard this information. And what I mean by dashboarding is that the element of transparency has been lost in the city of Detroit. And if it wasn't for organizations like this and organizational people who understand how to organize, we would not have access to this information. In fact, that information started from a study from the University of Chicago back in 2019. So that's where it began, and then the University of Chicago continues to do studies, because Detroit it's mind-blowing. You know, we are the largest black city in America, and yet we find this kind of one level of distrust. We find this kind of, it is criminal what has happened to so many different people. So to say that we're going to stop it only gets stopped if we give you the access to information and then show you what that information means. I'll give you an example. You know, you get your water bill right now, you don't even know what you're being charged for. You know, there's so many different things on it. So we have to educate our constituents, we have to educate Detroiters on what this means when you look at the dashboard and see how the property is assessed. We also need to go through a full-scale audit of the assessment process, because I was the first candidate to talk about a full-scale audit of our financial wealth or financial well-being, and also our departments within the city. And so we audit those audit those assessors and how they're assessing this property. Because what they want to claim is that, well, the overassessed values back from the Great Recession have caused this. But we have to be proactive as a city to not allow this to hurt individuals, as we know it's hurting. And so we start with that. We also have to educate people on how they can appeal this process, because you can appeal an assessment through the assessor. So we have to show them how to do that. We have to give them that information with their tax bills. We have to give them the information on where to go, and if you disagree with this, how to dispute it. Just almost like with credit card statements, what John Conyers requiring people to do. So thank you so much.
All right.
And so there's a couple of different things that we have to do in order to assist those individuals and really pay homage to those individuals who lost their property. And I have to agree with Ms. Sheffield, is we have to acknowledge that it happened. We have to acknowledge that. And you know, I always say that America is the country of second chances. A lot of people will give you some credit And that fuels a lot of distrust when you have administration versus council who are saying, yes, it did happen or it didn't happen like that. And they're making these, they just don't want to answer and be truthful and transparent with you. And that fuels distrust. So we want to get rid of that distrust by acknowledging it happened. And $600 million, if you look at the University of Chicago study, is a conservative estimate of what happened. And that's not even the societal cost of what it means. You're not just taking homes, you're destroying families. You're destroying legacies. So what did we do with that? First and foremost, I want to create a housing fund, a fund for those people who lost their homes. Now, you also say, like Perkins, you said, hey, Detroit's going to have to do more with less going in the future. I understand that. But I am, the eternal optimist, but not only that, the pragmatist, but I'm also the individual who knows how to build things. Just like I built my firm, just like I built other clients up and built their businesses, I will do the same with Detroit. So we are going to continue to grow as a city, but as we grow, those people should be replenished. And we have whatever available housing stock that we have with our land bank should be prioritized for those individuals who are best seated to take advantage of that and allow them, and services that would allow them to find the grants that are necessary and also the funding that's necessary to get those houses in livable shape. So those are just two of the basic things that we need to do in order to assist these individuals who lost their homes and their histories. So again, as it relates to Mr. Sabri, our treasurer, not only as a lawyer, Thank you. And so one of the things, let me go back to what I didn't finish with the treasurer. That's one of the reasons and the leverage points that I would use with the treasurer as to why a moratorium should still exist. If those things and those regressive tactics are still in place, that is a great platform to start with ensuring and promoting to him that property tax, that there should be some relief for tax foreclosure relief for our citizens. But as it relates to what's going on here, as a lawyer, you have to produce information. And what we know is by not producing it in a period of time, it gives a certain amount of leverage to the administration. It's like what you heard, kicking the can down the road. So if it's 14 months later, there's other people who have been affected and have been hurt by things that are happening 14 months ago, let alone they haven't even declared that they've even fixed those things. So what I intend to do is if I was on city council, I would have held them accountable. You know something, you can go to court, you can force these things to happen. You have tools at play that you can use to force these things to happen. And again, you don't have to wait 14 months. If I'm in an elected official, or if I'm in an organization, I'm going to take that individual and take that mayor to court. Hold me accountable, because I want to be transparent with you. And again, if I'm delayed, I have to have a reason. They haven't even given you an excuse as to why that happened. And so I would stand, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And that's what I'm going to do. Whether I have to go to court to get my oil, or whether I have to hit the streets and have the citizens outcry and declare the improperness and illegality of waiting 14 months to produce a report that still shows that inequities exist and illegalities exist against our citizens. So that's what I'm going to do. And that's what should have been done. And again, going forward, hold our administration and our elected officials accountable. Thank you. So that's a lot of questions, but I'll try to go through them a little bit. So I can't necessarily say what I've done as an elected official, because I've never been an elected official. I've just been a lawyer. I won't say just, but I've been a fighter for you day by day, person by person, and representing cities. So again, I've always brought the fight. And one of the things, let me tell you about reparations. I'm the only person that put money behind the reparations campaign. I'm the only one. And I'll tell you how it happened. I sued when I used to live in Grosse Pointe Shores for Black Lives Matter. I made them pay a lot of money, and I took all that money and put it towards reparations. And we put it towards reparations, and no one supported the second portion of the reparations bill, which was to financially allow citizens to vote on legislation. That's everybody. No one supported that. And again, it didn't pass. And that would allow you today, if that had passed, that would allow you the opportunity to vote on legislation to infuse, to make the city financially infused into programs that you wanted and initiatives that you wanted. That is still something that I support. That's still something, but I also have evolved too. I believe that with proper contracting and proper opportunity with the Detroit First mentality, the reparations will in effect be resolved by a city that looks towards giving Detroiters first opportunity at everything that comes through our city, including contracts, including employment, and real employment. Now, again, as it relates to what we're going to do, I have to disagree with Ms. Sheffield. She was not the voice that you needed in office as city council president. They had an agreement with Doug to move the needle. We're going to go and move the process, and we're going to go and move the things. There are times that from time to time she's spoken out, but did she speak out enough that it made a difference? Did it make you feel different that you were acknowledged in your community? I think not. And again, if you think someone's going to do something different just because they get a promotion, that's what Einstein would call insanity. So we're not going to go that way today. And then finally, as it relates to, that's it. All right, let's talk about the big bill. And the big bill, it not only, let's talk about those ICE agents, but let's talk about what it does to your Medicare and your Medicaid. They're doing so many things with that bill that they're starting fires in so many different directions that we have to be judicious, we have to be strategic, and we have to fight. We have to continue to fight. We have to push back on this because other people have to understand Detroit has home rule in the state of Michigan. We have the right to rule our own cities. And again, what we have to exercise is the power of the courts. And the only way that they're going to bring in troops in Detroit is if they can declare an emergency situation. And what they do is they try to see where there's uprising. And we need to police ourselves and our communities. And we have to know and tell our neighbors we're out here for each other so that we don't have these pretend uprisings which would have them declare a national moment to bring in the National Guard. That's ridiculous. But those are the tools and the tactics of individuals who are maligned and who are against us from the beginning. And then when I say us, I'm talking about all of us. The working class, the middle class, which are trying to deteriorate every day. So again, all of those things can be fought in a legal way. But again, with ICE agents, I've already pronounced it. If they come here, I'm using Detroit Police Department to police them, to make sure that our citizens' rights are not violated. So we're going to exercise that because we've seen the atrocities that have happened, and we don't want that happening on our turf. So again, as it relates to deed fraud, what we need to do is be a city that gives information to citizens. The Wayne County Prosecutor's Office has a deed fraud department, and what people need to do, if you believe any way your deed is in peril or somebody has taken it, call them up. They are very proactive, and they work with the Treasurer's Office and with the deed office because that's how people transfer the properties, and you no longer get your tax statements. So again, I'll save the rest for last. Next question. Thank you. As a lawyer, I always get the last word. This is what you call a closing argument from the Silver Fox. But we have to recognize where we're at, where we've been, and where we're going. Where we talk about what we've done, I'm very serious about that. You have to look at what our record of performance has been. And my record of performance has been one fighting for the people. And again, I have not necessarily gained the interest of the business community, even though I'm not anti-business. I am just pro-you. I am pro-Detroit. Detroit first mentality seems, why is it that when we, particularly with black causes, when we support black causes, why does that make us anti-white? It doesn't. We just support ourselves, and so that we are not continuing to be taken down that road. So, you must trust the source. And because we have to do more with less, we're going to have to continue with public safety. We're going to have to continue with education. And I'm talking about growing those things. And then the other four, even in our 13-point plan, but it's the top four, is housing and economic development. Because that's what's important. Trust the source and not when people are throwing a rock and hiding their hand. And I think that's why you have a lot of distrust at this point in time. So trust, I'm something new, and I'm something that's been down here, down the road, and I know how to fight for you. Thank you.